Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well today. In this video, we are discussing all of the possible ships that we might see at Invictus. This all comes from leaks, data mines, official info, and some speculation, which I'll make sure to clarify on each ship that we discuss in this video. I mainly wanted to get this video out because even though we have talked about some of these leak ships in different videos, I want to get it all in one video here so you don't have to go through a bunch of different patch updates to hear all the news about ships. Now, keep in mind again, this is leaked news. For the most part, there really isn't anything official here, so you do have to take it with a grain of salt. Outside of that, I will say that I am fairly confident in all the ships that we talk about here today, so even though we do have to take it with a grain of salt, I think there is a good bit to be excited about. Before we get into it though, if you are enjoying the content, feel free to subscribe. I have channel memberships open if you want to go the extra mile, and I'll have a link down below to the community Discord, and I would absolutely love to have you there. Now, let's put all of these ships in one place and discuss what we might see this Invictus launch week. Now, first things first, let's talk about this ship that is basically officially confirmed to be releasing, that being the Starlander TAC. Now, I don't want to talk too much about the ship as I know it has been talked about a ton around the community, but this ship will be a great addition. It acts officially as a patrol ship, but can also fill the roles of a dropship or gunship as well. Generally, I think this will be an excellent ship for small groups looking for some firepower, and I personally can't wait to see it around the verse. And by the way, the footage in the background is our first look of this ship in game. I think that's enough to say that we will for sure see this ship at Invictus this year. Now, the next ship does come from data mine materials, but I think certainly has a high chance of releasing this Invictus, that being the Marai Guardian MX. This will be a missile variant of the Guardian, similar to what they did with the Fury MX being a missile variant of the original Snub Fighter. Now, of course, we don't have any details on the ship yet as it is a data mine ship, but I generally don't think it's too hard to actually imagine this thing in game. The only thing I'm really curious about is how many missiles and what size they are. Outside of that, though, it's not too much of a surprise to actually see this ship for Invictus, but regardless, I am super excited to see this in game and hopefully give it a test fly. Now, the next ship we have to talk about here is the Anvil Paladin. This ship, as we know, was unveiled and sold as a concept last IAE, though this ship was also just recently data mined. I don't think it's too much of a surprise, though, to see this ship at Invictus. The Paladin acts as a gunship and seems to be the top competitor of the Aegis Redeemer. It is a very cool design that has a size 5 turret that can move in between the top and bottom of the ship. Similar to the Starlander TAC, though, I think it's going to be an excellent ship for small groups who want to engage in some decently serious combat. I actually, from some angles of the ship, kind of see some Legionnaire in it. I know they're both Anvil ships, so that's not much of a surprise, but maybe it's just me like hallucinating because I want that ship in game so bad. Regardless, I think the Anvil Paladin is a really, really cool ship, and I'm excited to see it in the verse. I think it did have a really solid turnaround time. I know they could have worked on the ship prior to actually releasing the concept of it, but 6 months from finally showing it to the public to releasing it is a pretty good amount of time to actually get it out. So I'm pretty excited for that, and I think it's going to be a good ship to have in the game. Now, at this point, though, we are moving into territory of ships that we have seen absolutely nothing of outside of voice lines from the data mines. So get ready to get creative. First ship to talk about here, though, is the Anvil Asgard. This ship is said to be a heavy transport, and in the data mine voice lines, it refers to the Anvil Asgard in more of a military operation sense. So I kind of assume that this is going to probably be carrying military vehicles, not just like a cargo hauler or anything like that. Now, again, we have no images of this ship, but I think it's safe to say it's not going to be too small. I personally think it's probably going to be a competitor to the Hercules in general because I don't think there's too many ships that really kind of compete on that end yet. But again, we have really no clue what this ship looks like. Now, I'll really quickly try and read your mind and just answer the question before you ask it. And to that, I say, I have no idea where the Anvil Liberator is, nor do I know when they're going to release it. At this point, with them releasing another Anvil ship that is probably a very similar size to the Liberator, it does beg the question as to where that ship is and if they have any plans at all to get it in our hands sooner than, years down the line. They do talk about a ton of ship information at Invictus, though, so hopefully, maybe we get some sort of update as to where the Liberator is at and if it's in the pipeline really at all for the near future. Regardless, hope to hear something, but I wouldn't really hold your breath. Back to the Anvil Asgard, though, just finishing this off, I'm super excited for that ship. I think it has a lot of potential, has a really cool name, and a really cool role. So I'm excited to see that thing, and I would love to hear your thoughts about it down below. Now, the next thing we have on this list is actually a ground vehicle, that being the Graycat MTC Mobile Tactical Center. Now, generally, we again don't have any information on this thing. We did get a voice line in the data mine files that basically, just like the Anvil Asgard, is a voice describing the name of the ship or the vehicle and kind of giving a brief explanation of it. It really doesn't give us any information on it, so not much to go off of, but there is kind of, speculation that the vehicle that you see on screen right here is actually the Greycat MDC. Now, of course, we have no information really outside of maybe this being the picture or the silhouette of the vehicle, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think that what we see on screen here is the MDC? And if so, what do you think its specific role in combat will be? Generally, I really don't know, and I have no good guesses on it quite yet, but I'm excited to see another ground vehicle in the verse, and hopefully we see this thing at Invictus launch week. Now, the last thing we have to really talk about before we wrap this video up is Drake DefenseCon. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a side event to the main Invictus celebrations that is very specifically Drake themed. It's at a different location. It has a bunch of red colors, just a very themed Drake. Now, this is typically where they either unveil a new concept ship for Drake or they release a new Drake ship of sorts. I personally think that there's three main possibilities that happen for this part of the event. First thing is they simply unveil a new concept ship for Drake. I think this is probably honestly the most likely event given that there hasn't been any leaks so far as to what the ship could be. So I'm kind of leaning on that they're probably just going to announce a brand new Drake concept. The other option, though, and something that I think people are really excited about, is the Drake Ironclad being released. Now, unfortunately, as much as I would love to see that and as excited as I am for that ship to release, I don't think it's going to happen this Invictus launch week. I think it's probably going to be closer to IAE or just sometime late this year. Now, generally, why I say that is because we don't have any leaked files over any Drake ship of sorts. So even though it's not, confirmed for sure, I think there's a pretty solid chance we would have seen something in the files by now. Of course, there is still time for that to be added, but generally, again, I think it's probably leaning more on the side of a concept ship. And now, my most realistic option for a ship release at Drake DefenseCon is whatever we have on screen right here. Of course, we know nothing about the ship outside of that it's probably a Drake ship given its design language. But outside of that, again, we have no info. So this is kind of really up in the air. For me personally, I again still think that it's probably just a concept ship that they'll unveil. If they don't unveil it, I think that it could probably be this ship that gets released. Then again, though, there hasn't been any leaks or basically anything surrounding Drake DefenseCon, so I think it's really up in the air as to what we'll get this year. Now, that is going to do it for all these ships and vehicles that should be coming at Invictus launch week this year. Again, these are all based off of leaks and very little official info, so things are subject to change, but I do think there is actually a very solid chance that this is the lineup that we have for this Invictus launch week. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts down below on all these vehicles. Which one are you most excited for? Which one are you not nearly as excited for? For me personally, I think the whole lineup looks pretty solid. But I think I'm most excited for the Anvil Asgard. I think there's a lot of potential there. And I just generally like the thought of a larger, heavy transport anvil ship. I know that some people are disappointed that we didn't hear anything about the Perseus. Unfortunately, it just doesn't look like it's going through development quickly enough for it to actually be seen at all during Invictus. But I do think there's a really solid chance we see that by IAE or just around the end of the year this year. Outside of that, though, I really do appreciate you being here and just sticking around to the end. Just wanted to make a short video with all of the leak ships and everything just in one spot so you can get all that information in one place. But again, thank you so much for watching and being here till the end. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.